welcome to Nacht Waffen Pilot with Penny Bradley. And today, my guest is Reverend Ed Brodrick, and he is one of the hosts on the GERN network. And he's one of the few that's been there longer than I have. And I know I've talked about that I don't do the religion thing. I do have a background in Christianity. And so I know what the man's talking about. This particular reverend has always been good to me. In the almost 2 years that I've known him, we've only had one fight. And he has honored my free will. And so I am honoring his request to be on my show. So this is the description he gave me of himself. So I'm going to read it for you. Reverend Ed Brodrick is an ordained minister with Gates of Praise Ministries and is a radio talk show host with Global Enlightenment Radio Network, GERN. From his youth, Reverend Ed has been gifted with a prophetic healing ministry. At 21, Reverend Ed's life changed dramatically due to an encounter with Christ. A door opened to the supernatural. Now, Reverend Ed ministers healing and prophetic readings counsel. Occasionally, the Reverend helps those who are tormented with evil spirits. Welcome.
Thank you. First, I got to say, you look amazing.
Thank
and
you.
you always do. So I always enjoy seeing you on the network. Also, thank you for the privilege and the honor of having me on your show. I'm very excited.
Well, I will admit that I've been nervous, like as in I have a potty mouth and I don't want to offend you. And I left Christianity for reasons, and I don't want to offend you. And I have massive triggers. And while they're not your responsibility, I may not be able to control them. So.
Okay. Well, then that will make it interesting. First of all, I may appear to be religious, but I promise you, I am not. So, as you know, you've heard my show. I pretty much kick over sacred cows as often as I can because I get a kick out of it. So, yeah, this is going to be great. And Penny, I just love the information you give out because, well, I believe half of it. And as far as the potty mouth is concerned, frankly, I don't give a shit. So we're good.
Awesome. Darrell sitting back there just laughing his ass off. Okay, good. So I don't generally cuss at people. It's just part of my vocabulary that comes from the stress levels. The more stressed I am, the more I cuss. And people that know me and follow my show know this. So, okay, my background is that I was raised in a Christian cult. The rest of the world knows them as Campbellites, and I came from the branch that call themselves, that are generally called anti. If it's not in the Bible, you're not allowed to do it. And they only use the New Testament. So
that made it an interesting lifestyle.
Yeah. I had a grandmother. My mother's mother, for those who are interested, was Sephardi, which is Jewish. And she was trying, on one hand, she was trying to hide she was Jewish. On the other hand, she practiced some of the holidays. And my father was not her child, so he was very hostile to this concept. So one year we would show up at Purim and have hamantashen, and The next year we would show up at Purim and Dad wouldn't allow it, So it was that kind of a situation. And so I was kept in the cult, but I was introduced to some Jewish traditions. And I was in my early 20s when another cult swept through the one I was raised in, and we called it Crossroads from the congregation that it started at. And it took a scripture out of the New Testament where it said, to be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. And because they believed that the Holy Spirit was retired. Yeah. They believed you could do this in your own physical self. And that if you could not be perfect in your own physical self, that you just weren't trying hard enough. And they were very harsh about it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And my husband at the time was a pastor for them. And we looked at this doctrinal thing and decided that it was incompatible with grace. And so we were standing in opposition to a movement waving its way through our denomination. And eventually he was asked to leave the ministry, and he went back to college and was starting into a Master of Divinity. He was dyslexic, read at a 3rd grade level. So I did all his homework. I read him what he needed to know for the tests. He passed with flying colors based on my tutoring him. I attended class, his lectures. I was in class more often than he was. And that was through his religious studies major and through his seminary time at Mennonite Brethren in Fresno. And later on, I was 35 and I converted to Episcopalian. And after a decade of being an Episcopalian, I applied to, they call it a postulant for holy orders. Now, at the time I applied, I was de facto the priest's assistant. And so it was, as far as I saw it, it was simply the next step towards making my personal ministry something validated by the church. And what I was doing was I had a visitation list of the older ladies in the church, what most people would call the shut-in widows. They weren't all widows. Most of them were just older women whose kids had died or didn't have kids. They were alone, abandoned. And because of their situation, they were falling through the cracks with everybody. And so my ministry was to go take care of these ladies. And I don't see any denomination that would have considered that sinful. But because I was stepping from lay minister to ordained minister, suddenly my altars were a problem. Okay. Everybody on the network knows I have altars. Everybody knows that I shift without control. And I've apparently been doing this my entire life. And it was a problem if I was going to be ordained. And so I was put through weekly exorcisms for 2 years. And at the end of that period, I still had altars. And so I was booted from the program. No. Most Christians consider altars to be demonic. They're not. They are scars from trauma inflicted on children. Because if you're an adult, you don't form altars, you just die. So this is something that I've had problems with every religious group over this. Christians call them demons, Gnostics call them archons, other faiths refer to them as jinn, and they're not. They're scars. And I have been working through shadow work, and my partner is an Iroquois shaman. And their method of soul fragment retrieval mixed with shadow work is how I've been reintegrating altars or removing the scars that are so offensive to everyone else. So the abuse that I've had, because I have those trauma scars, is why I've completely given up. So that's the source of the triggering. So I saw in your description where you talked about helping people who are having issues with demonic presences. And yes, I do understand there are real demonic presences in the world, but that's one of my main triggers, is talking about them. So with that,
well, we don't have to talk about that if you don't want to.
Thank you. So we can, now that I've been completely open about it.
Thank you.
I did at one point have faith, a great deal of faith. And by that last excommunication, which was for divorcing my second husband. Okay. He had moved his ex-wife into my house and expected to have both of us.
Wow.
And the church.
You've lived an interesting life, Penny. Oh my God. I have so much respect for you.
The church got mad because I divorced him. I mean, come on.
That's religion for you.
Yeah, that's religion for you. So at some point, I decided that God's people didn't want me. And then when I had my memories reactivated, my faith fell away like it had been pure programming. I remember having it. I remember everything I learned during that time. So I do understand how people of faith feel. I just don't feel it anymore. So I'm not angry at people for having that passionate faith. I just don't want to deal with it.
Right.
So, okay, your turn.
Okay. Well, I agree with you. Not every mental illness is a demon. And there are certain telltale signs that you can see that makes the difference between somebody who has altars and somebody who is possessed with demons. Mm-hmm. So, because there are certain things altars can't do, whereas demons can. So, to just say everybody who has altars has demons. Now, I know demons can disguise themselves as mental illness, but there are certain telltale signs that they can't help. Like, for instance, everybody has a tell, when they're lying or whatever. So it's the same thing. So I agree with you 110%. So, and I cannot stand. You're welcome. I cannot stand religion. Now, the definition of religion is man attempting to appease God by rituals and traditions that were created by themselves to appease God. Whereas, somebody having a personal relationship with God, that's a spiritual thing. So I stand directly opposed to religion by that definition, because all it does is bring heartache and pain. And part of my mission is to just tear it apart. By why I have problems on Facebook and YouTube and all that, because it's just like, hey, if I've seen more damage done by ritualistic abuse, and I'm not talking just satanic ritualistic abuse. I'm talking about ritualistic abuse within denominations. It's like, really? You totally missed the whole thing. You totally missed the whole thing. So, yeah. So when I tell you, I look religious because, frankly, people expect to see Reverend with this, but this is more of a uniform than anything else. So, and I have been very excited for this moment, Penny, because I thought, this is going to be a very interesting conversation. But you'll get no judgments from me, not at all, because it is not my place to judge. My place is to give hope, to provide light. So if I'm busy judging you, where's the hope in that?
Now,
so, anyway.
I did over time connect up with what the New Age community calls my higher self. Mm-hmm. And she did give me a warning. She said that she called it a cover altar. Mm-hmm. The Penny that presents on these shows and is living a basic human life. Sort of.
Well, yeah, yes.
Yeah, sort of. This is the only altar that has an ethical compass. Mm-hmm. And it's because of all of those years in Christianity that I accepted and ingrained the ethical compass that's in the Sermon on the Mount. And that it's so ingrained in me now that it's my basic approach to things. The egalitarian, you take care of the poor, you take care of the elders, you take care of the women, you take care of the sick. You don't leave anybody behind. Mm-hmm. That's still my basic ethical compass.
And all of what you said is impossible to do unless you have the one essential thing, which is love. If you don't have love, then when you're taking care of it for, you're not going to be effective. And the only place they can honestly get the kind of love, the unconditional love that looks at somebody and, and they could be, the world rejects them. But the kind of love I'm talking about looks at them and sees them as they are and as they could be. And that kind of love only comes from the Creator. That only comes from personal relationship. It doesn't come from knowing the New Testament or the Old Testament and trying to live by it. Be perfect as I am perfect. But that word perfect there is not perfect in the sense of behavior. It's perfect in the sense of completion. Be complete as your Heavenly Father is complete. In other words, be made whole through this relationship that you have with God. So I'm not getting preachy on the show, I promise. But I had to correct that. Go ahead.
Okay. At one point, I guess about 3 years ago, I was dealing with pernicious anemia and I was dying. And one of the beings in my spirit world literally picked me up and tossed me inside this giant light and told me to drink the energy as much as I could. I haven't seen the one that tossed me in. I haven't seen him since. He got into a lot of trouble for doing that. But I do know that there is a great light being who is what what the New Age people call source. And I'm going to assume that's the real thing that Abrahamists call God. So when
I was originally, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was originally part of the New Age community before my encounter with Christ. So everything that you say, I completely understand because I was there. So
Now, the folks in the SSP community tend to be New Age. So I have to understand their religion, although I see it as a watered down version of alchemy.
Sure.
I've had a tutor who is a member of a secret society. He has tutored me for the past decade, maybe a little longer. And so I've learned a lot from that side as well. And putting it all together into something that makes sense to me has apparently offended everybody. You know how that goes.
Welcome to my world. Yep, I do. Oh, so Penny, the text I sent you, I don't know if you've gotten it because I've been quite busy of late. So ask me anything. There is no boundaries, no borders, nothing too personal. And that goes for anybody who's calling as well. So ask me. I'm open. I'm an open book.
Yes, we're doing something different from my shows. We're allowing voice-only phone calls in this show. And we're not allowing video because the last video call-in I had, the man decided to share gay porn on my show.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. That's too crazy.
If his intention was to shock me, he got what he wanted.
Right?
It's not that I hadn't seen it before, it's that I didn't think anyone would do that on my show. So, okay.
There you go.
So there is a phone number if folks want to call. Let me pull that up. It's 1 area code 202 684 6955. And you'll get to talk to Darrell first.
And you get to talk with Reverend Ed and Penny. And guess what? Live conversations are now back on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network.
So I know that Reverend Ed does readings on people and that he prays for folks and usually gets what he asks for. I don't know the exact percentage of good results, but that's okay.
Pretty high.
That's between him and those folks. So I know when I do things for folks, and I don't call it prayer anymore, that I get an 85% yes rate, and that other 15% usually has to do with their own life mission, and what I'm asking for isn't meshed with it. So
yeah. So Penny, what got us started as far as our friendship was it was a one of those prophetic moments where I was talking to Darrell, and it wasn't my time for my particular show. I call it my Spidey sense. Yes, I'm a big comic book fan, but anyway, DC. But I also love Marvel. Anyway,
you still live in the culture.
Yes, and so whenever my prophetic sense starts to flow, I mean, it happens anywhere. I was on a date the other day, and I ended up talking to the waitress, and I ended up getting a word, a revelation for her dad. Her dad wasn't even there. But I was like, yeah, tell your dad this, that, and the other thing. And it confirmed everything. So you just never know when it happens. Well, I call it my Spidey sense. And some of my minister friends just laughed. They're like, you're calling your Spidey sense? Yeah. Anyway, so my Spidey sense was going off. I'm like, I said, Darrell, I need to go on the air right now. Is that okay? And he's like, yes. So anyway, what happened was, sure enough, I was calling out these different things, the sicknesses or whatever, just shooting out there. And I described you. And then I was about to launch into a prayer. And all of a sudden, it was like the spirit was like, no, don't bless her, because it's against her free will. I said, okay, and I stopped. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was
I was
the
like,
big
okay.
fight we had was because you went ahead and did it. And I have
That's what I did, didn't I? Yeah, sorry.
I
about
have a healing team. And these are people from a Native American background. And they cussed me out. They said, "What the hell did you do? You're covered with what looks like spirit vomit." And they had to take all that off to go back to the next stage of what I needed. And so they have told me flat out, do not let anyone else do any energy work on you. So it's the only person they allow to work on me outside of their team is Sean Bond, who has also been on my show. And not even the rest of his crew, just him. This has been, okay. At that point in my life, okay, I had a broken neck.
Dr. Pepper, by the way, just letting everybody know, I'm not drinking. Go ahead.
Mine's coffee, black. But
nice.
Lou bought me the dragon cups for Christmas.
That's sweet.
I blinked.
No, you're talking about Sean Bond. He's
okay.
The only one that, yeah.
Okay. At that point in my life, okay, I had a broken neck from 1977. And it had been treated lots of different ways. And at that point, I had been getting epidurals for like 6 years. That's literally a steroid injection into the space between the spinal cord and the inside of the spine. I was getting those every 4 or 5 months for years. And when you were wanting to pray for me, the epidurals had started failing. And that was why I had that all the time headache. And it eventually settled into being a concussion headache because the spinal cord itself was being pinched.
Right.
And Penny, you have a caller? Caller, you're free to talk.
Do we know who it is?
Hello? Caller. There we go.
And Reverend Ed.
Hey.
My health has been deteriorating for many years, but recently it's gotten really bad. I wondered if maybe you could give me some insight.
Okay, so
and I'll get off the line. Thank you.
Okay, have you been going through any kind of stressful situation of late?
No.
Okay, so these altars are just kind of acting up because of just seem to be, right?
Well, you're calling them altars. What it really is pretty much identified as MS.
Okay. And what is it that you would like for me to do for you?
Well, for one thing, I certainly always can help positive intention directed my way.
So would you like me to bless you? And if I get anything, share it with you?
Well, Reverend Ed, I feel like Source blesses me all the time. So
Exactly. Yes.
it's all according to what you feel. And
Okay.
the other part, like you guys said earlier, there's a certain part of me that obviously has got my own life agenda going on that you probably have no influence over.
Well, it's not me anyway. All I'm just simply a vessel. So I will gladly pray for you, pray a blessing for you, and if I see anything,
Okay.
I'll share it if you don't mind, and we'll just let Source do the work. Sound good?
Okay. Sounds good.
What is your
Nice speaking.
What is your first, it was nice speaking to you. What is your first name?
He dropped the
Okay.
call, but hey, go for it, Reverend Ed.
All right.
Go for it.
Well, I bless you, caller, as a representative of Jesus Christ. I don't know what it is exactly. You said MS, so I right now bless you in Jesus' name that it would cease and desist, and that the power of God flow through your body right now. Right now, life, I speak life over you. I bless you that you will have wisdom to know which direction you need to go in, strength to go in it. Well, I do see like and I could be wrong, but I see a heaviness in your heart, and it looks it's like spinning. So I don't know if you feel like you're spinning your wheels, but there's guilt here, and I'm not sure what the guilt is. It's almost like you progress, and then it's like there's a standard that you're trying to live up to, and you don't have to. Just be yourself. Even your own standard that you think that you have to rise up to. No, you don't. The only thing you have to do is be you and trust that God, Source, will guide you. You already know that He blesses you, but love keeps no record of wrong. So when you start feeling that not measuring up, or you start feeling that heaviness, remember, love keeps no record of wrong. Take a love break. That's my suggestion for you. Take a love break. Just focus on Source, because Source is not outside of you. God is not on the outside somewhere far away in a heaven. God is inside you. The kingdom of God is within you, my friend. And what you see in your heart is what you will be outside. What you see is what you be. And great expectation brings great manifestation. So that's my suggestion to you, my friend. And I have another one, of course. Listen to me 9 o'clock on Saturday. Okay. Hey, thank you, Paul.
9 o'clock, what time zone?
Eastern Standard Time. So thank you, Penny. I appreciate that. Wow, first caller. We're just zooming along right here.
Yeah.
Pun intended. Okay, so now, Penny, ask me any question. I'm open.
Okay, my name is Penny Bradley, and I have a question for the great Reverend Ed. Reverend Ed, do I sound like Penny?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
You sound
sounded like that. Go ahead.
you sound like Darrell pretending to be a girl.
I almost spit my Dr. Pepper. That was good.
I guess I'll leave that alone now. Reverend Ed,
Reverend
You're
Ed,
making me nervous.
I got a question for you. Now, we also know that the
Penny
power
Bradley.
of prayer is equal to, and blessings are equal to, the will is actually the amount of prayer you put into a person, and the person has to accept it. The question I have for you, and believe it. I mean, it's almost like magic. You have to believe in it yourself and for it to manifest. Have you ever experienced anyone out there that you've prayed for and they didn't believe at all, and
Yes.
it came true in fulfillment?
Yes, absolutely. There was sometimes the sign has to happen in order for somebody to believe. And so in general, they may not believe it, but there might be a kernel inside them, like a desire, and so God knows how to find that and bless it. But God, yeah, God blesses people who don't believe. God makes it rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. So the blessings are out there, and it's almost like a faucet. The measure of the blessing that you get in your life is the measure that you're willing to believe. God made it simple. You don't have to do anything to please Him. It's already done. He just wants you to be you, and He wants you to believe what He says and receive the blessing. And you never rise higher than the level that you see for yourself.
I find that interesting, and I agree. Now, Reverend Ed, not to sidetrack Miss Penny over there, I got a question. Have you had any experiences with UFOs and the paranormal? And I know Penny. Come on, I'm sorry. I'm stepping on Penny's toes. I'm disappearing.
You're not stepping on nothing. I'm finding it interesting what's in your head right now.
Oh, what's in my head? Blue's Clue.
Oh my God, Lord Jesus, just take me right now. Okay.
No, you are stuck on my show for the whole 2 hours.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Yeah. So have I? Oh, I have a lot of experience in the paranormal, and I believe, obviously, and I walk in the supernatural on a regular basis. Have I seen a UFO? Unequivocally, yes. In fact, I was stunned because I saw that very same UFO on an X-Files episode.
What?
Really?
Yes.
Which
Yes.
one?
The one with the big black triangle that hovered
Okay.
over. Yeah. So this is what happened. I was at a Boy Scout camp way out in the woods, and me and this older scout were going to sneak across this huge field to another set of camps that were for the younger scouts, like Cub Scouts and all that. And we were just going to scare the living daylights out, throw sticks on the tent and all that kind of stuff, make weird noises.
General
So anyway,
teenage stuff.
yeah, right. And it was up in Connecticut. So we're making our way, creeping along the edge of the field, and all of a sudden, because it was like a full moon, it got dark. So we look up, and just above the trees is this black triangle, just above the tree line, just slowly going across the field, not making a sound. I saw that. I looked at him. He saw that, and our feet started running before we realized we were running. I don't think I touched the ground until I got across that field. I was like, oh my gosh, all I could think of was being abducted and being probed. I was like, there is no way. I saw what happened to that guy. Huh?
I can see that being your fear, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no thanks. And so both of us just hauled it. Of course, we kept it a secret because who wouldn't believe it, but there it was. Now, having been in the military and having had a military career, I believe that was a military craft. But at the time...
It sounds like the TR series, yeah. Most of the triangular shaped ships that are seen are military rather than ETs.
I've looked up in the sky, and this was when I was in Central America. In the sky, I saw a silvery white thread. I don't know how to describe it, but there it was. And you know how when the web moves, the light moves, and I saw that, and I'm like, what is that? And it wasn't like, oh, there's a spider web across my eye. No, I'm seeing it up in the sky, and I'm looking at this thing. And
Did it do anything?
Nope. It was just like strung across the sky. And then in my studies, I had learned about the Hopi Indians and how they believe that their earth is covered by a giant spider web. Mm-hmm. So I find that very interesting. So yeah. So I could go on.
I've had encounters with Grandmother Spider. She's an interesting character.
See, so I saw the web. The best way I could describe it is some kind of web. maybe it was some kind of weather thing, but when I was a sailor, we learned how to tell signs in the skies and so to plot whatever. But I'd never seen anything like that before.
I haven't seen anything like that before either. That's why I was asking you what it did.
Yeah, it was just like from one horizon to the other. I just looked up and right in the middle, it's kind of moved. And what is that? I'm checking myself.
Am I awake?
Exactly. Did
Yeah.
somebody sneak peyote in my enchilada? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
No, peyote would have made you throw up first.
Yep,
You would have known about that.
Yeah. So I know I wasn't out of my body. I was in my body when I saw it. So yeah, very interesting. Just some of the things that I've seen. My ex-wife, we were down in Newport, Rhode Island, and she was coming out of the car. Now she has a very special gift, so she can see in spirit. So, but this wasn't in spirit though. And just recently on Facebook, somebody posted the sighting of the exact same creature and even drew it out. And I sent that picture to her, and she was stunned. She felt so good because somebody else had seen it. It was like a humanoid type creature, but it was walking across the ground. And the reason why she looked is she could hear the claws on the cement of the street. So she's looking over, and there it is, big long tail, a head with pointy ears, hunched over, about 5 foot tall, just walking across, paying no attention.
Did it have wings?
No, it didn't have wings. And it just walked across, and she's just staring at this thing like, what is happening? And apparently...
Did you see it?
No, I wasn't around. Believe me. But you didn't call me. I'd have tackled that thing. Get some food. Get some evidence. Put it on my show. But no. Anyway, but she saw it, and then later on, there were other people that also had seen something like that, but in other areas. Might have been a chupacabra, actually, what I was thinking. So,
or the real world creature that is behind trolls.
True. Yeah.
Not online trolls, but the myth.
Online trolls.
Online trolls, huh? Hey, I got another one for you. Now, see, when I was years ago, I was out in Virginia, and I saw this huge shadow on the ground. I mean, it literally covered about an acre of a shadow. I looked up, and I saw this giant bird, and it was not an eagle. It was just huge, flying overhead. And I never seen anything that size. I mean, from tip to tip, it could have been as tall as the tallest tree out there. A little bit taller. In width. It was huge. Has anybody had any other sightings of giant birds like that? Or the thunderbird or anything of that nature? Yes, I'm actually disclosing something that I've seen. Another first on Penny's show.
On Penny's show, all right.
Yeah, he has disclosed things that he and Doris, Mama Neely, have both seen, and neither knew the other one had. And they talked about it on my show. And wow. I'm sitting back and I'm just listening because I'm like, don't you guys talk to each other?
All right, we have another caller coming in, Penny. And I'm not going to guess who this is. What's the 336? Come on through. Okay, caller, if you turn off your background, you will feel better because you can hear us straight up.
Okay, hello. Hi, Rev Ed. Hello, Penny.
Hello.
My name is Lori, and I had a question. Well, with a comment as well. A couple of years ago, I ran into something that I felt was not a human being. It was a person that looked like you and I, but the feeling, the energy that I felt off of this being really disturbed my entire spirit. And I knew that I was looking at something that was within a suit of humanity. So my question is, have you ever run into people who you know and feel are not what they are truly representing themselves to be? Thank you.
Well,
Go ahead,
Ed,
Penny. Yeah, you want to take this one?
I'll take this one. Yes, there are lots and lots and lots of people out there who are not people. They are, there is technology that can overlay a hologram where that you see the hologram. There's also folks out there with telepathic capability of making you see what they want you to see. But those of us who have psi abilities, that's what it's called in the space programs, is psionics. Those of us with psi abilities feel that they are not what they're presenting themselves as. Now, that doesn't mean that they aren't 3D real. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that they're shapeshifters. It's a perception issue. It's not of them changing what their body looks like.
Now
I would agree with that.
there are bodies where people are walking. There are people that are walking vessels of. I hate to say the word, but I'm gonna use it. Of spirits of other individuals that just inhabit the body. Not saying that spirits can. Here's a better example. You got people that are walking around, quote unquote, don't say the word possessed. I'm not going to use that word, but they have a spirit that has taken over their body. And that is a true thing. I mean, there are people.
The New Age community calls them walk-ins.
Walk-ins.
But you
walk-ins,
don't
yep.
know what has walked into that body.
Especially if you mess with Ouija boards and other foul things. I mean, people use things and they don't understand them because the knowledge is lost. All we do is pick it up and think, oh, it's a new toy. And the bottom line is, you don't know what you just brought into your world, and you really didn't close it off either because you don't know how to close it.
Right. So, Laura, yes, we have. In fact, I was in a department store, and I had, once again, as I said previously, my spidey sense was just off the charts, and I'm like, what is going on? And I was doing security, and standing, leaning against one of the against the wall in the corner of this store was a man looking directly at me. And he had no pupils. It was all black, the eyes. And he was just looking right at me. When I looked at the security camera, he was not there. And I knew exactly who I was looking at. That put a chill in my bones when I saw that. So, as Shakespeare says, there's more things in heaven and earth that are dreamed of in your philosophy. And Hamlet.
I don't so much see the ones with the black eyes, but I see the ones with shining gold eyes.
Oh, would you consider them angelic beings?
I generally consider them extraterrestrial or non-human. I don't
maybe?
I don't categorize them until I'm given criteria. There are lots of folks out there that have shiny gold eyes. That was one of the things that I learned out in the Black Ops, is that there are many, many, many folks out there, and we don't have any way of knowing who someone is because there are too many possibilities. Even the ones that meet criteria for races we've interacted with before, they may not be that.
Now, in your vast experience, Penny, with paranormal, supernatural, and the other thing. Would you say that there is a spiritual world, another other dimension, maybe even parallel worlds, that are just as populated as ours?
My job out there was to take physical objects interdimensional and bring them back with the organic beings separate from the inorganic.
You are a fascinating person, Penny, and I love you.
That was my job. And when I'm not plugged into the computer, even here, my dad used to beat me because I could see 3 dimensions at once overlapping each other. And
Really?
as a child, he would beat me for describing the ones that were not 3D, because he would tell me I was a liar.
Wow.
If he couldn't see it, I wasn't to talk about it. So it took me a couple of years to figure out which was which. And that's why I can be so certain when I give my testimony. Well, this happened in 3D, this happened in 5D, this happened in 6D, this happened in lower 3D.
And how can you describe any of that? There are no words in English to describe an experience that you've had that are like for instance, one of my out-of-body experiences that I saw a blue color that I can't even describe. It was blue and beyond blue.
It's really hard to describe some of this stuff where for lack of a better term, I call them normals.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
You know, most of my experience, because I am what they call a multidimensional. Because of that, most of my life experience, I cannot describe to normals. They cannot understand it, even if I can find the words.
Yeah. I find that it takes my gift to get an understanding of those things. And
now,
then I try to translate.
What I see is normal 3D is very physical and solid. 4D looks like 3D, but is translucent. 5D, you start seeing things like they're on you remember the old overhead projectors with the transparencies?
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah.
They look like you're holding up a transparency with stuff drawn on it. That's 5D. Now, the other direction, what most people would call demonic, those things look like cartoons. Now, when I was a lay minister in the Episcopal Church, and I was serving communion, one day I was seeing these visions of skulls overlaid on people's faces. And I basically had a panic attack during service.
I would say so.
And it wasn't everybody. It was just part of the people. And what I took from that later on was that those people were spiritually dead. And I actually asked my guide at the time to only show me what I needed to know.
Oh, yes. Yes, I understand that completely.
So, that cleared up a lot of the stuff. Now at this point, I'm only shown what I need to know, and I'm a lot more grounded, and life is simpler.
Yeah, I would say. Wow. Yeah.
So, but yeah, seeing all of this stuff overlapping each other, it's all in the same space. They're just in different frequencies, and seeing them together, it's like you see a human being, and they've got all these insects all over them.
Right. Oh, here's a question for you. My significant other had a dream that I had worms all over my body, and I wasn't worried about it, but she was trying to remove them.
Hold on. Whoa. Stop, Rev. Take a breath. Let me tell you a dream. And grab your significant if you can, and or get her to listen to this, okay? Because I got a dream, and if your dream is mine, we're messed up. I had a dream when I was younger that I had worms all throughout my body. They were green things, and I tried to cut off a finger, and it grew back. I tried to chop off an arm, and it grew back, and you see the worms just growing them back, and they felt like they were just taking over. And here's the thing about it. No matter what I did, they just kept growing back. Is that like your dream or not? Because that dream haunted me for days.
Well, no, like I said, I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't cutting anything off. It was just like a whole bunch of worms, and she was trying to remove them, and they just kept on coming back. But I just took that as the relationship that I'm in is helping to purify me or something. I don't know. But I was just curious what you or Penny thought, or what Lori thought.
Is Lori still on?
Lori's here.
Okay.
Hi, Lori.
Yeah, I'm still here. Hi.
Hi,
What do you
Lori.
think of the conversation so far?
Those dreams are fascinating when you have like entities or creatures coming out of your body. That seems that is more of a, I don't know, maybe like a duality in the psychological. For me,
So
that's what I would take out of it.
Trying to say?
Okay, back when I was in ministry, if it was something that was in or on your body and it was vermin category, they considered it to be different kinds of sins that were attached to you.
Ooh.
Okay, that's interesting. So now so let me see. Lori thinks I'm absolutely out of my mind, and you think I'm a filthy, dirty sinner. Wow, this
I feel.
No. I'm not saying anybody is a filthy, dirty sinner. I'm saying.
Hold on, you trying to say I missed the mark?
Even the Bible says we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Come on.
Wow, look at
Ooh.
you. Uh-oh.
We getting scared here.
Why are you getting scared? I told you I had a background in it. I'm speaking Ed's language.
I like that about you, Penny. One of the
My
many things I
background
do.
is in justice and deviant psychology. That's why I said the psychological factor of it. It's like a duality of nature that's like thrusting through and trying to be seen. So it just needs to be addressed and given a voice with those types of dreams where you have things growing out of your body. You're trying to destroy them.
Right, and in the dream, I wasn't worried about it at all.
Yeah.
She was concerned, but I wasn't.
Well, you wouldn't be because you're sitting in grace.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I'm going to send you my collar. That's it. You're done. That's it. You're taking over my show. Welcome to the Awakening, Penny Bradley. That's great. It was almost like she was more concerned about what was going on with me than me, because I already know that all that stuff is being worked out.
That's why she dreamed about it instead of you. She cares about you.
Oh, she does. She does. Yeah.
I'm glad you have someone in your life that cares about you.
Thank you. Thank you. I had an experience when I was a kid that I knew that there would be somebody that I was waiting for. You know, different adventures in life, all this, and then before I started getting involved in this person. I actually had a dream, and in this dream, this song, "When I Fall in Love, It'll Be Forever." You know that one?
Mm.
Anyway, I don't dream music, and I don't like musicals. So, musical dream, that makes me pay attention. So I'm listening. The song is playing, and I'm slow dancing with somebody. I'm looking down, and we're both very much in love with each other. And that whole feeling of finding twin flame, the soulmate, whatever, was there. And the next was a lamp, like a street lamp, and bugs are just flying into the light. And I'm like, well, maybe that's the sign that when I'm with her, I'll see this thing. Well, when we started our relationship, I had a playlist, and so we were slow dancing in the living room. And I'm looking down at her, she's looking at me, and deja vu, like you wouldn't believe. And the song came on, and then the next song was like a moth to the flame, or insect to the light. And I was like, oh, there it is. It was like I didn't have to do any of it. Oh,
Yeah.
I blew away.
That's what happens when it comes together.
Yeah.
I will admit that I had really, really, really bad taste in men. I am drawn like a moth to the flame to bad boys.
Well, I'm a bad boy, just let you know. Go ahead.
So, Lou and I were both working at this limestone quarry. And I was married at the time, and he was poisoning me for life insurance. And then he moved his ex into my house. And by the time that I filed for divorce, I was in pretty bad shape. And I was going to do the righteous thing and live in my car. And Lou basically swatted me across the back of the head and said, "You are not going to do that. You'll be dead within a month. You and your kid in high school are going to come live with me, and you don't have to pay me money, and you don't have to sleep with me."
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
That's what I thought. So I moved in with him. I moved in with him, and I've been with him ever since. So he picked me.
Wow.
And it's worked.
There you go.
That's beautiful.
That's cool how that worked.
So yeah.
He's taking good care of you too.
He has. It'll be 21 years in May.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. 21 years. That's loyalty right there.
He has. I have put him through hell. I'm ashamed to say that. But he stuck through it all, and now he's stuck with me.
That's great. That's good. Well, hey, if he see in the beginning of the relationship, you put him through hell, right?
Oh yeah.
So that was a good test of his character.
I put him through hell the first half of the relationship.
Oh, you're a good man.
Lou's a very good man, yes. So, but yeah, he put up with me while I was sick. He put up with me when I've had, 4 surgeries while we've been together. He put up with me while I left Christianity, and then my memories were reactivated, and I stopped sleeping and completely got my days and nights backwards. And I still struggle with that. And now I have a book addiction.
Yeah. Now, I just got rebuked by my significant other because I'm smoking on the show. But I figured, this is a more relaxed show.
Hey, all I can say is he's transforming into a warrior for Odin too, guys. He's going to smite you with the Bible and keep on walking. All right, now, puff away, Rev.
Thank you. Oh, don't worry. I'll hear about it later, but that's all right.
She just wants you to be healthy. I'm not worried about what you do.
She's a wonderful human being, truly. I am blessed beyond I can possibly comprehend. So
Now, women who tell you what to do to take care of yourselves, it's just because they care about you.
Well, I know that.
Egg.
So a lot of men go, she's telling me what to do. She's
Nope, I
being
don't mind.
bossy. But it's just
You know,
she
I
cares
take
about
correction.
you. Yeah. So
But I told her, I said, I will gladly quit when she does. Now, I'm joking when I say that. Well, you know,
you better be careful. She's going to take you up on it one of these days.
good. I hope she does. Anyway, but yeah, she's
Blue
great.
has smoked the whole time we've been together. And in 2014, I got a case of pneumonia that would not clear up, no matter what antibiotics they put me on. And the doctor pulled him into the office and screamed at him about him smoking in the house. And he stopped smoking. The pneumonia cleared up, and I haven't had pneumonia since.
Wow.
So he's 73 and goes and smokes outside, even in the snow. So
That's saying something.
yeah, it is. And he used to do 4 packs a day, and now he's doing less than 1. So I don't bitch at him.
Yeah.
And if
Oh, I bought my last pack.
And if he wants to do an occasional Canadian mist, that's okay too.
What's that Canadian Mist?
It's a whiskey, bourbon, I
Oh,
think.
oh yeah, yeah. Christian Brothers is what I like, or Crown Royal.
When I used to drink,
But I don't drink anymore. So.
and no, I didn't drink much because I get drunk too fast. But I drank Di Serrano. I used to get drunk on half a wine cooler. Seriously.
Wow.
Seriously.
Talk about lightweight. Wow.
Yeah. You know, those ancestry DNA tests. I did the medical one, and it came up saying, you know, you're not a metabolizer. You can't drink. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. And well, I'd already figured out all that stuff, but it was nice to see it in writing why I couldn't. That it wasn't a moral or physical weakness. It was just my DNA doesn't handle it.
That's good.
So, you know, it's one thing to know something, but that external validation feels good when you get it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I get a lot of validation too, so it's a nice balance. So, yeah. Anyway, so now, how does now? Do you have any? Now you left Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
and rightly so. I mean, as far as the religion is concerned, that was the more harm than good.
It
Now,
was.
any form of like relationship, if you don't mind my asking, with God at all? I mean, do you still have like a connection?
I have a spiritual connection, but it's more with what New Age would call my higher self.
Okay.
And sometimes it's a love-hate thing.
Sure.
And I've always believed that if you didn't get mad at God, that you really didn't believe in him.
Interesting.
You know, if he's real to you, some of the stuff that he pulls on us is justifiably angering.
Yes, I can understand that.
And you know, if he's not real to you, then you're going to go, oh well, oh whatever. But if he's real to you, you're going to go, that pisses me off. That's too much. That's infringing on my rights. Blah 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 blah. When I was Christian, I used to do this weird prayer. I believe it was St. Francis of Assisi who came up with it. but it was, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. And that, you know, my kids were sick. They were in and out of the hospital. My first husband was beating me. My second husband was a hitman who wanted to put a hit on the first husband, and I kept saying no. And it was just this constant bullshit. And I was getting no support from the Christian world and or my family because they were very deeply into the cult. And that particular phrase got me through 20 years of bullshit. And so I think for people that are dealing with major bullshit,
Right.
that's a good thing. Now, remember, I was a reader in a church that didn't believe in reading anything other than the New Testament.
Right.
And so I was reading stuff that they had no idea even existed. So when the day came that I had to leave, I already had this background. I had read Forerunners and Rivals of Christianity. So I already knew about Gnosticism. I knew about the Alexandrian divinities. And then, okay, I'm with Lou. I've been kicked out of church. I have all this time on my hands. I was trying to work. I was having trouble sleeping. And so I started doing my family tree more or less like a compulsion. And when I reached a certain point, I started being contacted by people in secret societies because I had read all this church fathers stuff. I had an understanding of what these guys were trying to teach me. You have to have a background before you can go into esoterics.
Right.
You cannot just go from, well, I'm a Baptist and I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. You can't go from that to the level above where Leo Zagami is.
Right.
Can't do it. Even these societies will take you by steps. But the one that decided they were going to teach me, Dragon Court, those people have an understanding that is so deep and so encompassing that I look at it and just my jaw drops because they take all of these different religious beliefs and take the core out. And you start looking at it and things finally make sense. Everything falls into place. I would imagine that it's the same effect that some folks are getting from the Freemasons or the Rosicrucians or any of these other societies that are teaching variations on the theme. And then you have all these folks that have no background to it at all. And they look at it and they gasp.
Now,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. Okay. If I may, I don't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Ask your question.
Okay.
I'm
So-
trying to walk a line because when I talk too much about their beliefs, friends of mine get killed. So feel free to interrupt me.
Okay. All right. All right. So, are you saying that if somebody is entrenched in the Christian religion,
Uh-huh.
today it would be hard for them to understand the deeper spiritual truth. Is that what you're trying to say? Because here's what I'm saying.
If
because
you
I
are,
host a show called the Awakening
uh-huh,
because I'm seeing it myself. I've seen it in other people. Now I'm talking from a true Christian perspective. Okay, yes, I
mhm.
have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Well, I had my encounter when I was 21, and experienced pretty much Trump's argument. So
Mhm.
here I am. I've had this experience, but it was totally different than what I expected. Instead of more of the same from the old Methodist church that I grew up in, or Roman Catholicism.
Hmm.
I'm not saying anything against Methodists or Catholics. What I'm saying is that dogma, that doctrine, tradition always nullifies truth. I think both of us can agree with that. So, with my personal relationship with God, that experience plus the one I had in 2018 opened my mind to a more profound truth of how, in fact, in a way, it kind of lines up with quantum physics, where in him,
Then you're on the right path,
right.
because
So I still,
quantum physics is true.
right, exactly. So everything does vibrate, and everything does have, we have God is in everyone. I think of the Gospel of St. Thomas, where Jesus says, "Cut down the tree, and God is there."
Now,
So,
one of the problems with Christianity as it is presented to common people is its exclusivism, because God is in everyone. God is in the Christian, God is in the Muslim, God is in the Buddhist.
right. Now,
That is the source spark that
right.
everybody refers to as their spirit.
Now I'm going to be going into a teaching about resurrection because Easter's coming, and I'll be discussing Easter and kind of killing some sacred cows with that. That'll be fun. That'll take maybe 2 shows. But
You're going to talk about Astarte, or are you going to talk about Jesus?
both.
Are you going to talk about the solar god that dies and is resurrected?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know that Jesus was from a bloodline that every 1,000 years or so that they chose a Messiah to reenact the solar god?
Yes, I am familiar with that tradition.
Okay.
And you have another
Yeah.
person hopping in, everyone. Here's Robert.
You don't got to laugh at Robert.
I love Robert. Hold on.
As long as he remembers to let us talk too.
Yeah.
Robert Banfield, are you there?
Yeah, wow, now I'm in both places at the same time.
Shut down one then.
I'm going to hang up the phone. Okay. Hey, I'm only here because he wouldn't leave me alone. He's been bugging me for almost an hour now, about every 5 minutes. Call in, call in, call in.
Thanks, Darrell. I thought we were doing fine.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, Robert. Hey, Robert was on the developmental educational radio show, and he was on point. Let's see what Robert can do with this one.
Okay.
Okay, wait a minute. I got to mute something here. This is driving me nuts.
Well, that's all right. We're already there.
You are so mean to him today.
I love Robert. He always gets me, so I got to get him at least once or twice a month.
I'm trying to catch up. I've got too many voices.
Well, I have.
Oh, I know what it is.
He has voices in his head. They talk to him. They understand. They talk to him.
Hey, I had another question with Penny and the Rev. When it comes to the incorporation of your walk in Christianity, because I am a Christian, even though nowadays that word is like not good. It's like you're a pariah if you say you are a Christian. But I am a Christian. I'm a believer in Yeshua. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. So, and also understanding that the way that this being has been represented to the masses of society is twisted and inverted and convoluted and done so purposely, as opposed to the beautiful things that he did and he taught and the information that he provided to humanity while he was here. What he came to do, he succeeded. He came to raise the vibration, he came to educate, and he came to stimulate the minds of the beings that live here so that you can open up your mind, you can see what's not right, and learn to question everything. Learn to question authority. He questions authority. What I don't understand is why this being, which is good, wholesome, never did anything to anyone in an ill way, now is demonized in society by particular beings, particular people. This good being is demonized. I don't understand that, because in my further walk, I've learned that the things that I learned in church, they didn't benefit me. The things that I've learned along the way have benefited me greatly as it goes with where my soul is and my walk with him. So I just wanted to say that being that we are Christians, those that are, you can't lump us all into the same pit as what I call the super Christian, who, if you present something to them, you just cross off the line immediately, and your comments are completely wasted and thrown away because they can't see and understand that the Bible is so intricate and there's so many players going on with it, especially in the Old Testament, that you have to actually really do what Jesus said, and you have to gain the understanding, because once you gain it, it can't be taken away from you. So that's all I have to say is I agree that in this walk that we do, we grow, we learn, we expand, and we understand that the being that was presented has been twisted. And I really believe it's by all of the various sects and, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, all of that. It makes no difference if you're giving love to the same being. But it's just been so separated and convoluted in society now that people are confused, and I don't blame them. But, I don't like anyone to tell anyone what they should believe. So for me, I present it to people. They can believe what they want. They can say what they want, because I am rock solid in my walk with him and what I was asked to come here to do. So that's all I want to say. Thanks. Bye.
Lori, thank you so much for that, and I'm going to take this one. First, Lori, God bless you, sister. Awesome. That was really good. Don't forget, Jesus was also demonized by religion back then as well. In fact, they put him to the cross because he claimed that he was the Son of God, or equal with God. His mission was to restore the image of God to humanity. That was his thing. And to this very day, religion and truth will always bump heads. It's sad. Religious Christianity today and the true teachings of Jesus are always going to bump heads because it is controversial. The way this world system is, it's built on the lesser being ruled by the greater instead of the greater serving the lesser. So that whole profound truth of being free and being liberated and being literally God, just as I've called you gods, we were all made in the image and likeness of God, and along the way we lost that. And so God, again, Jesus comes and restores that image, because what you see, sister, is what you be. So if you start to see yourself, one, with Christ, because we're extensions of God, then you're going to start to be it. So when his work on the cross, the redemption, all of that had one focus, and that was to correct the image of God, because God was some angry God who sits on the mountain with lightning bolts. That is Greek influence of Zeus. God is not Zeus. God is his infinite being called the I Am. We call him the highest consciousness. Call him the who knows? But it's like an infinite ocean with no shoreline and no bottom. He is, and so
Well,
we are exactly like him, but we lost that, and so it was restored. So if I'm going to turn around and start giving you a whole bunch of traditions, do this, do that, do the other thing, or God is angry because you play cards. No, he's not. Okay, God is angry with you, and he's going to punish you because you sin. No, he's not. Love keeps no record of wrong. That was already absolved. So if it's not liberating, if it doesn't educate you, encourage you, and build you up, if it doesn't give you hope, then it's not God. It's trash. I'm going to say it very clearly. If the message of love, if the message of redemption, if the message of being whole because of God's love, because what Jesus did on the cross, if none of that message is liberating to you, then they are teaching trash, and it's worthless. It's to be burned up and thrown away.
I'm going to address the part of why has Christianity become a bad word. It's because God's people have this attitude that they are the chosen ones and that they are automatically better than the rest of us.
I agree.
I have experienced
Superior.
I have experienced this even in chat rooms where those people who are currently born again Christians have assumed I know nothing because I'm no longer affiliated with Christianity. Christianity was abusive to me. I left for good reasons. Okay? Now, you're dealing with 2,000 years of political control based on religion. The Vatican did this, and starting in after the Crusades, there was a rebellion because up to that point, the Vatican had been wiping out anyone who was pagan, anyone who disagreed with the Vatican decrees, anyone who was racially different.
Anyone who had a true relationship with God.
Yes, they got rid of Anabaptists as well as Cathars. They got rid of millions of people.
I agree.
Millions of people were brutally murdered. Christianity in the Roman Catholic version took over Europe at the point of a sword, and it was a means of political and economic control.
I agree with it. But one more thing I got to say. It's
And
not just religion in general, like the Muslims and some of these other religions that say they're the chosen ones too. I mean, how many right now? And I'm
The struggle for power, Ed.
But right now, there's more persecution on the people of God through radical Islamics than ever. And they think they're the chosen ones. And they think
the other people of God.
3 times a day, God's going to hear them.
They're all Abrahamists, the Jews, the Islamics, the Christians. They're all God's chosen people, and they're all out to kill everybody who isn't their brand.
Well,
and it's all about political and economic control. Not a bit of it has to do with what actually happens between you and God.
Well, hold on, Penny.
And
I'm a devout
applying
guy,
that to people like me,
punch him in the nose once in a while, but
applying that to people like me,
You don't come down.
right.
it comes down to if it's your personal relationship with a spirit being, who the hell's business is it?
Okay, Betty, I got one for you, okay?
Wait a minute, is the caller still there?
Yeah, but I got to answer this one.
Okay.
The statement you made is so true. It's political. It's about money and power. And I got to ask, honestly, where do the Jews actually think they are the chosen people?
Because the Bible says they are.
Okay, guess what? Who wrote that?
The
The
Jews.
Jews.
Case closed.
Of course. Okay. Is
Actually,
the
they
caller
are
still
quoting
there?
God when they wrote that.
You know something?
Is the
In the
young
Bible,
lady-
there are only
is the
two
young
people
lady
that
that
walk
called
with
in?
God. There are only two people
That's
that walk with
Lori.
God in the Bible. And I hate to say this, Noah and who was the other one? Noah walked with God, and who else walked with God?
Enoch.
Enoch walked with God.
Yeah, Enoch
Outside
walked
of
with
that,
God.
ain't nobody saw God.
Oh, Jesus
No.
did.
Nope. Jesus never walked with God.
No.
Jesus did not
Jesus
walk with
never
God.
saw
Nobody
God
saw
on
God.
earth.
Jesus
Adam
did not
saw
walk with
God.
God. It was
Ezekiel
never
saw
written that
God.
Jesus walked with God.
Adam saw God.
He
Adam
saw
heard
him,
God.
but he
Wasn't
didn't walk
Adam
with
saw
him.
God?
Hello?
Yes, it says
Jesus
that.
was
God walked with Adam in the
God.
garden.
Hold
What?
on. Now you're trying to equate them.
Now y'all are trying to
Okay.
argue. And this is why people don't want to hear
Now
it.
you get the point. Penny
I'm
just
not
said
arguing.
it. Everybody's got their own opinion.
Can
Everybody.
I-
And
Exactly.
opinions are like
Everybody's
assholes.
opinion
Everybody has one and they all
valid.
stink.
But no.
Everybody's opinion is valid.
Well, how do you no nobody's
Thank
opinion
you,
can be
Lori. I love
valid
you.
because God didn't speak and say, "This is me."
Okay, here we go.
My
You want me to go through all
opinion
this
is
for you?
Jesus
Okay, you know
was
what? I'm going to go
God.
through it on my
Jesus was
show,
the
so
portion.
I'm not going
That's
to do
my
it.
opinion.
Now,
That doesn't mean it's your opinion. It doesn't mean that it's Darrell's opinion.
We've
But
only
it means
got
it's
10
just
more
as
minutes,
valid
guys.
as anything else.
Really? Has it gone by
But
that fast?
it's not like I'm going to shove it down somebody's throat.
Young lady, Lori,
Yes?
can you hear me? You can hear me. Okay. I wasn't sure. Okay. First of all, you're absolutely righteous. Hold that faith, hold that belief, be who you are. See, the key to this, no matter
Okay.
which direction you look at it, is, and they spoke about this earlier in the show, it's really about coming to know you. You are made in the image of God. Henceforth, you are, in essence, God. That which makes you respective
Exactly.
of all other things in creation is God inside you. Now, you have a conscious being, and that conscious being is not in touch with God. But you both are sitting in the same cabinet. All you have to do is get rid of the separators. You, through your faith in Jesus of Nazareth as the Christ, Son of God, is your first step towards acknowledging that there is this something greater. There is this something that's in touch with God, which allows you now to expand your consciousness to understand that the trip is a hell of a lot shorter than you thought it was, like between the right eye and the left eye. But you see, everyone has to find that kernel, that seed that starts them expanding their conscious understanding of things. Now, I would contend that one of the biggest problems that we have with religion and Jesus of Nazareth, the Christ, Son of God, is that it has been interpreted for 1,000 years by words that were said to be spoken but may or may not have. They weren't chronicalized, okay, until hundreds of years later. But what we fail to recognize and what we are driven not to recognize is the behavior of the being as it existed as man on this earth with other men. You see, you have this case of look at the life of this individual and the conduct of that person, and make that the representation of your conduct towards fellow man. Not the words that were spoken. That was narratives. Somebody was narrating the lesson that was being shown. But you can watch a movie in mime and still understand the story.
Well said, Bob.
So embrace your feeling, embrace your belief. There's nothing wrong with being Christian. There's nothing wrong with being Jewish. There's nothing wrong with being Islamic. There's nothing wrong with exploring that contact between you and the greater you, which is everything you condone to be creation, the heaven, your God. It is you. It is all of us living out a drama of which we must survive. But experience is a teacher, so really we're here to learn how to get back in contact with that larger us, which is God.
Will somebody get me Cowboy Bob? I mean, who is this guy?
Right? I mean, this guy's blaming Christians left and right, and all of a sudden this profound gem just drops.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think the premise is, okay, you know, first off, Penny's absolutely right. It is all about economics and control. I give you Noah coming down off a mountain. He's got 40,000 people. Now, technically, this is like every class of citizens from a society. So you have the bricklayers and the plumbers and the farmers and the gardeners and the stock handlers. They don't generally get along with each other normally without controls. Now you've got them all out here, and the one thing they're looking at is you going, hey, man, what do we do now? And you've got to keep order amongst 40,000 people. So you say, I, as the educated one, as your leader, I have gone up and I have asked the God of the Israelites to tell me what to do. And that God gave me these 10 rules, and I'm going to give these 10 rules to you. And you're not going to like them. You're not going to like them. But remember, I'm just the messenger. Don't kill the messenger, right? Blame it on him. Well, how do we know he exists? Well, that's easy.
If you read in Exodus where the law was given,
right,
he actually spoke in their heads loud enough that they could not hear another fucking thought.
That's right.
And they begged Moses to intercede so that they didn't have to hear God again.
And see, that shows the intention of God, because God wanted to be the source, because he is the source, but he wanted them to see that he is the source. But they haven't already had the, as Bob says, well said, sir, the barriers that were up. And so that, you know, old wineskins can't take new wine. So this fresh revelation is coming, but they have the old mindset of slavery, master slave instead of father
exactly.
son. Yeah, exactly. So they couldn't bear it. And it was
who's going to make decisions for us? We're not equipped to make decisions.
I'll tell you one thing, having heard such voices in my head, this is not something you want on a daily basis. When these folks decide they're gonna talk to you, you have no options but to listen. And we are hardwired genetically to worship them.
Exactly. How many times have you seen where they fell down dead before an angel, or fell down, not dead, but, you know, as if they were dead? And some people are like, oh, if I see a vision of Jesus, I'm going to stand there and talk to him. No. If you have a vision of Jesus,
you're going to drop to your knees.
Exactly.
Because we are hardwired to do that.
We don't worship, right, if we don't worship source, we're going to worship something else.
Now, in the block,
I would question that presence standing in front of me, and I would do it on both feet and with my hands open, going, I perceive you to be Now convince me that you are, because if you are who I perceive you to be, then we're equals. You're not my superior. You are a teacher, a guide. I am now your equal. Hey, watch me snatch the pebble out of your hand. I'm ready to leave. Because if I can see you and perceive you for who you think you are, or I think you are, then I've graduated, baby. I'm there.
Hold on,
Bob. Do you have
Bob.
any understanding of the word hubris?
Sure. But if I'm a divine creation, then why should I submit to anything lesser than myself? I am divine. Therefore, if divinity appears before me, I'm going to be curious as all get out with divinity. I got a million questions I want answered, okay? But that does not mean that I'm suddenly bound. I am part of creation. And if I am part of creation, we are on equal terms.
Yes,
see, there is the premise of control of society is to believe that there is something superior to you, therefore you must kowtow. You do not need to kowtow.
Trickle down theory.
It's not a kowtow thing. It's more of a
I'm gonna have to agree with Robert on this one, because I don't worship.
Have you ever met one of them in the flesh?
I don't worship angels. I have met an angel in the flesh. An angel saved my life.
One
and I was very disrespectful.
Lori, hold on.
I have.
Hold on, everybody. Hold up. Penny's talking.
If you have not interacted with one as a physical being, then you have no idea how you're going to react. When I interacted with one as a physical being, it was everything I could do to not drop to my knees, and I had no willpower left with which to ask anything.
I would suggest that is fear.
No, it was a sheer body response.
Yeah, right. Help me, Ed. But it's that you're going to smite me. You're the great Lord. Therefore, I humble myself before you.
Have you ever seen anything that has been so awesome and so amazing that your jaw dropped?
To fall down on my knees. I'm not going to fall down on my knees to anything, because I have a will and I have a choice. Yes, we may be hardwired to fall down to these beings, but no.
That's a control aspect.
That's not for everyone. Because the one that saved my life, I felt this energetic field. Yeah, I knew that it was positive and it was here to help me, but I didn't want its help, and it knew I didn't want its help. But it did use its sphere of influence on me to help me. That I will agree on. It did use a sphere of influence on me for me not to kill myself, because I was about to kill myself, because I have such a will that if I want to kill myself, I'm going to kill myself. Because I got hit by the cars and was laying in the street, and this being dressed as a police officer, which was not a police officer, came over to me and told me, "Lori, do not get up. You're going to be okay. Ambulance is coming. You'll be fine." And first thing I'm thinking is, how the hell do you know my name? Second of all, who are you to tell me what to do? Because I'm going to get up off this nasty ground, laying here in the Bronx, New York, on the nasty street. I'm getting the F up. And he just looked at me, and he had like these cerulean blue eyes, and he was just staring like into my core. And even though he was staring into my core, my will still said, I'm not going to lay here. I don't care who you are. Okay, because first of all, I'm a germaphobe, so that was hitting everything about me being there.
Yeah.
And then I did it. And then I just laid there. That was a sphere of influence on me, changing my destiny for its will. Because my will to be done was I was going to get up. And the sad part is, with my will being done, I would have died. Because somehow I listened. I laid there. And even to this day, I think to myself, what influence did it have on me to usurp my will, to make me lay there? And I laid there. And he was right by my side. He was right on my left side, right by my side, never left my side. When the ambulance and everything came and all the people running around us and everything, he never left my side. The only time I didn't see him was when they was actually putting me on the ambulance. And then later on, with the court papers and everything, there was no police officer. There was nobody that was by my side. The witnesses, they didn't see anybody next to me. I was like, he was right here. He was a plainclothes cop. That's what he said. Okay? And it was just bananas. But when we got to the hospital, we found out through x-ray, if I would have stood up, I would have died. I would have bled out internally because my tibia and fibula were fractured, and it would have most likely jammed up as soon as I put weight on it into my femoral artery, and I would have bled out in the ambulance before anybody could do anything. So this being saved my life. I felt its influence. It was powerful. It was strong, but I still had a will.
Yes.
That it had to work on. So.
Right. Well, hey,
the
that
hard
answers
wiring
your question.
I can't agree with the hard wiring for everyone and every being.
I guess the word will.
We've been around these blocks. We've been around these blocks a long
It is all a matter of steps.
Things.
Each of us must take our own steps up that staircase to heaven. One step at a time, and only we can determine which steps are the ones that get us up the staircase. So we create those steps for ourselves if they are not presented to us by nature. Absolutely. The last time I died, technically, DOA on the floor of an emergency room in Phoenix, Arizona, the last thing I remember was turning away from the window at the check-in desk, and the girl on the other side telling me I wasn't old enough to be having a heart attack, therefore I must not be. And I turned away from her, and I looked at a man who was very large, I would say probably 6'4", 6'5". He was black. He was dressed all in surgical whites with white shoes, and he was coming down a hallway. And I looked at him and I said, "I'm sorry, can you please help me? I think I'm dying." And he said, "No, help's coming. You're not dying." And the next thing I know, I died. Now I wake up. Okay, so later on, I'm talking to everybody, and my wife says to me, who was in the room at the time, says to me, "I was putting the baby down. I turned to get you, and I saw you standing over by the window talking to the wall and a plant. And you were having a conversation with a plant, and then you just folded up and went down." Okay. Now, there was no hallway. There was no dude. There was no conversation.
And there was no hospital.
I definitely experienced something, okay? And it took 2 shots from a defibrillator to bring me back. And it wasn't my heart. It was my lungs. I blew a lung. Okay, so I literally drowned, but of course that, the pressure stopped the heart, so that, they were trying to get the heart back on. But the point is that there was that moment where I crossed. I went to something else that was there, that was not in the physical plane. It wasn't there, but I needed it at that time. So is that the guardian angel of those stories coming in at that moment of need? Is that some celestial being coming to me? Is that a figment of my imagination trying to deal with the reality of the moment? Does it really matter?
Or your galactic family.
What it was,
or
because
galactic.
It's the impact that it had that counts, right?
Okay. I'm going to thank everybody for coming.
Wow.
Because my time is up. Thank you to my audience for listening. And I'm going to let those folks who are continuing with the next show do their thing.
Penny, thank you.
I don't even know what to do now, because I stop and start a new show?
Yeah.
Well, you just throw up the slate and go, "Hey, here we are. We're back."
Yeah.
But next show.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop recording this one.
Okay,
You guys
Penny.
have fun.
Thank you,
Recording
Penny.
stopped.